Good morning. I'm Yael Wissner-Levy, and we begin here in the region and the Israeli announcement that it had arrested a number of Israeli youths in connection with an arson attack that killed 3 members of a Palestinian family in July. This is new information released yesterday after a gag order was lifted, but the names of the suspected perpetrators and other details of the investigation have yet to be revealed. 3 Jewish people were put under administrative detention after July's attack, but the defense establishment has yet to officially file charges. The media blackout has also given rise to various conspiracy theories popular in both local and Arab press. The announcement comes at a time of heightened Israeli-Palestinian tensions. For the past 2 months, there have been nearly daily attacks by Palestinians on Israeli citizens and security personnel, predominantly in Jerusalem and in the West Bank. Yesterday alone saw 3 attacks on policemen and soldiers, resulting in injuries. The Palestinian attackers were shot dead by security forces. To discuss this further, I'm joined now in studio by I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. Our very own Ami Kaufman is in studio as well. And our senior defense correspondent Amir Oren, thank you for joining us. Let's all take a look at the following report on the latest development in the arson case that, of course, shocked Israel and the world. Let's take a look.
A dramatic development in one of the most significant cases of suspected Jewish terrorism in recent memory. The burning of a Palestinian home in the West Bank village of Duma on July 31st killed an 18-month-old toddler, Ali Dawabshe. His father and mother died later from wounds they sustained. 4-year-old Ahmed Dawabshe is still receiving treatment at hospital for his injuries.
Our family inside Palestine and outside of it is suffering after this atrocious, terrible attack against humanity.
The incident triggered mass Palestinian protests, and many cite it as inspiration for the ongoing wave of terror in both Israel and the West Bank. The Shin Bet, Israel's internal security service, announced Thursday that a number of Jewish youths were recently arrested on suspicion of committing terrorist acts and belonging to a Jewish terrorist organization. The Shin Bet added the youths were being interrogated and that concrete suspicions concerning the arson attack in Duma were being examined. These details were only cleared for release Thursday after a partial easing of a gag order. Further details concerning the investigation, including the number of youths and their identities, are still being censored. On Wednesday, the UN's envoy for Middle East peace, Nikola Mladenov, said he was concerned about the slow progress in the investigation. Many in both Israel and the Palestinian territories had also questioned the lack of arrests until now.
It's true that in terms of capabilities, there are more tools available to deal with Arab terrorism than there are for Jewish terrorism. Against Arab terrorism, one goes by the Terrorism Directive, the emergency laws valid in Judea and Samaria. And against Jewish terrorism, one goes by the laws of the State of Israel.
Ever since Duma, though, Israeli authorities have taken a harder line against Jewish individuals linked to nationalistic crimes. Administrative orders have been issued against at least 37 Jews recently, with at least 4 currently being held under administrative detention without trial. There were over 400 Palestinians being held in administrative detention as of the end of October.
There are differences in terms of the detentions, the length of time you can hold someone for interrogation before bringing him to see a judge.
But investigations into nationalistic crimes by Jewish extremists are an especially complex matter. The issue is a long-standing one and usually requires infiltration of extremist networks, a dangerous and lengthy process.
That's how the work is done. That's how the police operate when they want to catch drug dealers or thieves or murderers. And that is how the service operates. We didn't invent this ourselves.
There is a department of the Shin Bet devoted to preventing crimes by Jewish terrorists. Once a mole is planted, the Shin Bet will go to great lengths to protect its informant. This is one possible reason for the delay in progress in the Duma case, as the covers of high-value sources could easily be blown.
So, Amir, just to clarify, what do we know? Because there, as we said, there were a lot of rumors and these kind of conspiracy theories going around because of all the gag orders that were put on top of each other, kind of a layer of gag orders.
What we know and what we say are not identical,
right?
Because for the last week or so, it was known in the media that the investigators are closing in on the gang. It is a gang. And we haven't been able to publish it because of heavy censorship. Now, the censor, of course, says that he is only following the court order. But what the Shin Bet Internal Security Agency released yesterday is a very cryptic announcement. They said that, yes, that some youth, they did emphasize the youth aspect of it, are in custody regarding suspicion of belonging to Jewish underground or terror activities. One of the suspicions investigated has to do with the Duma arson. So they were careful not to say that they have caught the perpetrators of the Duma murder, because they don't have enough evidence, because they don't have confessions. And circumstantial evidence definitely led them to the suspects. But this is not enough for indictments, and perhaps they cannot even be remanded yet. They have not been brought before a magistrate of the peace.
So in your view, this latest evaluation of the case won't lead to indictments or won't lead to seeing these suspects put on trial?
At one stage in the investigation, it is better for those handling the case to go public. Up until a certain point, they don't want others to know what is happening, and they hope that by fishing and listening to those who look around, they may get more suspects. But we are beyond this point, and now they want others to come forward with information. So for them, revealing certain facts is now better. But yes, we are a long way from solving the case.
How much would you assess, there was some considerable pressure also within Israel and also around the world to bring these perpetrators to justice. How much pressure was exerted on the Israeli security services, and did it have an impact that we see now?
Well, the pressure is homegrown within the Shin Bet, because obviously their prestige has suffered several blows.
Right.
Going back to last year, when the three youth were kidnapped in the West Bank and then found murdered. They couldn't solve the case for 18 days, and the bodies were found, but it had nothing to do with the Shin Bet. And here, too, from day one, they knew that their prestige is on the line, and they have failed. Even up to now, 4 months later, they don't have anything conclusive. Now, there was a report in the media today that some of those who were arrested have been monitored even before the crime, which means that they weren't monitored closely enough, because otherwise the murder would have been foiled, or they would have been arrested immediately following the murder. So the Shin Bet, under current Chief Yoram Cohen, has failed miserably.
There's also a clear political constellation to everything that's going on. We're talking about a right-wing government that needs to go forward with a root canal treatment within its own society, within its own constituents. It's not easy for neither Netanyahu or Naftali Bennett, the leader of the Jewish Home, to deal with this problem. And if we're talking about youth, we're talking about a specific problem that the Israeli government has known about for years, and this is about these bandit youngsters who are basically out of order and do not listen and do not accept the rule of law. But this is a root canal problem that needs to be dealt with education, and not necessarily only with law enforcement. The way to prevent this, the way to not even reach the situation that you have to monitor these youngsters, is to identify them and detect them much earlier, and to try to deal with the problem in a much more, I would say, comprehensive way.
Tal, one has to applaud your idealistic hope that education would carry the day with these extremists. No amount of education would have swayed these youngsters, the hardcore of the extreme right.
But it has to do with statements, and it has to do with what the leadership says about these kind of attacks. It is true that almost all of the Israeli political spectrum, denounced the Duma case, but we have not heard very harsh, clear-cut statements coming from the Israeli Prime Minister, coming from his fellow counterparts in the right-wing government, that actually
Even labeling Jewish terror for what it is.
They are hesitant to label
Right.
Jewish terror. Actually, the defense minister, Moshe Yaalon, is probably one of the much more outspoken politicians, but he pays a political price for this, and they do pay political price for being outspoken on this within their own constituents.
But he too is doing nothing against the outposts. Yes, they do pay lip service on one level, but actually they wink and nod in the direction of the settlers.
Amir Oren, Tal Shalev, thank you for joining us.